Mahou Henshin, Majiro.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and on today's video, we're taking a look at the Mahou Sentai Magiranger MagiPhone Memorial Edition. And this is very exciting for a lot of reasons. One, it is pretty much the only thing that was done to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Magiranger. They didn't get the, I don't know, everybody's been getting anniversary movies, but Magiranger just seemed to miss out on that. But we did get a nice memorial edition of the main changer, the MagiPhone itself. Now, for me, the MagiPhone is one of my favorite changers, if not my favorite changer, like, period. And I'm very, very happy to have, like, a fancy memorial edition of this, because the original MagiPhone toy, by the nature of the way Magiranger in its show was done, was limited in sounds. You only had so many pre-programmed sounds, and the show itself would kind of sort of make up codes randomly, if we're being totally honest. And so this is a, hindsight ability MagiPhone that now has all the sound effects we would want it to have. And that, I think, is pretty awesome. So this is pretty cool. And we're going to take a look at this, of course, in full detail. Also, big shout out to Psycho O's, who compiled a full document of every single Magiranger code used in the show, in Gokaiger, in Zenkaiger, in crossovers. So we have a complete list of every single spell code that's ever appeared, and we're going to go through every single one of them in the new Memorial MagiPhone to see which have dedicated sounds and which don't, and just what they sound like in general, as well as getting probably the most comprehensive list of spell codes out there, because even fan wikis haven't gone to the depth of detail that we will go into in this video. So big thank you to Psychos for providing that. But let's get into it. Before we begin, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and the notification bell if you haven't already. Those two things help the channel immensely, and I appreciate everybody for tuning in. And hit the hype button if it's available to you. But let's begin. Let's go over the basic features of the MagiPhone before we get into the huge code list. That way we can talk about what makes this version so cool. So here it is, the Memorial Edition MagiPhone, which almost looks unassuming in this form. For me, this is exciting because I have wanted an upgraded MagiPhone. Ever since I started doing Memorial Editions, I was like, oh, we could get one that has all the codes. Because the original toy didn't have like a proper Legend Mode code, for example. So because of that, I've been wanting to get one of these. And the first thing I felt when I opened it out of the box was, wow, this feels insanely similar to the original deluxe version. And, I can say that with good authority, considering I have the original deluxe version and the silver MagiPhone and the Uza phone. So, like, I have all the commercially available Bandai Japan MagiPhones. And, yeah, it was just kind of crazy opening the box. It's like, wow, this feels very much like this. And I thought about doing this later, but let's just kind of do this now. Here's a cosmetic overview of how different it is from the deluxe. So you can see from the front, it's pretty much similar. The gold is a little bit deeper and richer on the Memorial Edition than it was on the deluxe one. You can see that the red, it's got a red jewel here instead of a clear jewel, which is a neat choice. The Memorial also smooths out the back, so it removes all the copyright info that was on the deluxe one. But the power switch, it went from a X and O power switch to a, here's a little dot for where the power switch goes to. The speaker hole's been opened up, so now there's 3 holes for it instead of just 1, which makes this a lot louder than this. Not by like too much, but still significant. Still runs on 2 AAA batteries behind the battery cover. But you can see the cover itself is different. So I can definitely think that they used the same mold. You can even see the visible screw holes here. And then when you open up the phone mode, before we get to that, when we get to the phone mode inside, you can see the keypad is a lot clearer and brighter on the Memorial Edition now, and it's a lot duller on the Deluxe. I'm not exactly sure if that's just age as well, because it is like 20 years old. Because you can see the keypad on the silver MagiPhone is a little bit cleaner, but that's just kind of something I noticed immediately. We'll talk about this in a moment, because that's a big change. Up here, you can see it basically looks the same, except now all the screw holes have been filled in and covered, versus here where they're all visible. So you can see all the screw holes are filled in. And then the color tone difference, the color separation on the little camera piece is a lot more distinct. And even the sticker for the shiny reflectiveness, it's got more depth to it. Opening the wand part, you can see that the original MagiPhone had the clear tip with the clear light, and this is a red tip with a red light. They still do red lights through, but this makes it a little bit more accurate, and even the tip is a different design to be just a little bit more show accurate overall. Now, the big change here is the way the emblems are done. On the original MagiPhone, the emblems were cardboard, and the default was, of course, red, and then you could insert these cardboard chips for the other 4, and then it came with this one with the generic symbol, and then kind of like your basic codes for like transformation and mecha stuff. So for this one, the default is that default code, but what you do here is you actually pull this panel off, and then you can come in here and remove this chip, and then you can place whichever your favorite Magiranger is in here, and then put the cover back over. And that's a pretty nice, clean system, but there's a second reason for this, and that's because they added an LED here, where none existed here. Interestingly enough, something that I think a lot of people were curious about when this was announced, and surprisingly isn't included, is you get this plus the 5, which we'll show off in detail. But when Magi Mother first showed up, she used a regular gold MagiPhone, and she had her symbol inside this. And so for some reason, they didn't include her symbol in this. Are they planning to make a memorial silver MagiPhone in the future? Because it's just a straight recolor, and that would be a piece that you could use on the silver or on the regular. We'll have to see. Bandai does tend to not do follow-ups that much on the memorial editions, but for the most part, if there is a repaint, they usually do the repaint. So I could kind of see them coming out with the silver MagiPhone, especially because some of the codes that she used don't have unique sounds in this, which would kind of give credence to maybe there's a plan there. But let's get these out of the way, and let's focus on the Memorial Edition. But overall, it does feel nice. It feels like the deluxe toy, which, again, I have no problem with because I love the deluxe MagiPhone. Clearly, I have all the versions of it. The hinge feels a little sturdier, too, which is nice. It's a little bit sturdier of a hinge. It still has that little bit of a flop if you hold it like this. That's pretty much consistent with, like, all of these, like, every single one of them. Except, well, my silver one holds pretty good. They have a little bit of flop sometimes just from the nature of it. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the physical side of it. But of course, this thing is packed to the teeth with sound effects. So it's finally time to turn this on. Alright, so let's get into the sound effects on this, because of course we need to turn it on. What's nice about this one is some of the Memorial Editions you had to have like 2 switches or alternate switches. This is just 1 power on, and then the mode changes are on the keypad. But we do need to take a look inside of this while we turn it on, because it's actually got a pretty cool startup. You know what's funny about that sound is that it kind of became the de facto like Sentai jingle for the title card for many years after that. But yeah, it lights up with all the different colors because yes, it does have multiple color lights right here on the emblem. So I'm going to pull the main emblem out because I don't think we're going to be using it again. Goodbye, main emblem. And then you like, for example, you press the enter button, you can see it lights up red. So what's cool is, of course, you can do this for Magi Red, right? You can, there you go, Magi Red. But if you want to change colors, and it does change some of the sounds, which we will talk about. So for example, you want to have Magi Yellow, you got to hold down number 2. And so that's the sound you get for Magi Yellow. And this is kind of what it looks like with the cover on. But yeah, so that basically, whichever Magiranger you want to become, you just swap your emblem, and then you hold down the button. So of course, you hold down button 3 for blue, button 4 for pink, and button 5 for green. Alright, so we'll go back to red as our default, but we will switch this as needed for some of the spell codes, because some of them do change depending on which ranger it is, like specifically elemental attacks. But let's get to that in a moment. Let's talk about the side button here to open the wand. When you first push it, it will give you a sound of the wand opening. And then what's cool is that you do have a sound for learning a new spell, which was, of course, a thing in the show that wasn't in the original toy, and that's when you hold down the side button. Alright, so just like the original, the main sounds all come from the keypad. Each one of these numbers correlates to a different word, and then you put the codes together and it makes a different spell. So for example, we're going to start with 106, which is for the transformation. And let's hear how it sounds while also taking a look at the light show. So that's pretty cool to see. Now, there is a second version of the transformation where instead of hitting the enter button, you actually press the side button, and you'll get a slightly different version that is actually a little bit more akin to some roleplay stuff. And I thought for fun, we'll do this with yellow. So that way you have a different version of the transformation if you want to pose around with it. It's the swooshing sounds for the posing, which I think is really nice to have on this. Now I'm going to switch over to blue here just so we can kind of continue this. I want to do a comparison between the transformation sound here and the one on the original deluxe MagiPhone, because I think it'd be kind of neat to see how far we've come. So let's take a look at the original MagiPhone. So not only do we have a much larger sound palette, it's also a much higher quality speaker. This thing, and it's also because it's 20 years old, is a little crunchy. And then just so we don't leave them out, here's Pink and Green's version of the transformation. Okay, so let's do the other major transformation sound, which is the Legend Mode transformation. So this is 1006, which didn't have a proper sound in the original release of the MagiPhone. And then here's the version with the swooshing sounds. And then for full context, here is the sound in the original MagiPhone compared to how it is in the Memorial. And then for consistency, here's Pink and Green again. Okay, I think it's time to take a look at some of the phone functions, because the keypad here has a bunch of hidden little features. For example, we got a call button, which of course will do the sound effect of the phone calling. The cancel button, which will cancel out whatever code you type. So say, for example, you screw up a code, like you just put in the wrong numbers, and you're like, oh no, that's not what I wanted. You press this, and it'll cancel out. And then the phone call is just a phone call. Alright, so naturally you have the whole keypad to use for spell codes, and we're going to go through all of them at the end of the video, but I wanted to kind of hit some major ones. There's a couple different ways to activate them. So just like with the transformation, you can either hit enter or you can press the side button. So let's go through some basic ones. If you press 4, it'll do the detransformation sound. This next one is the giant code that turns them into the Titans, of course, which are the mecha. That's 107. And here's that same code in the original MagiPhone. Next we have the code 125 for the Magidragon formation. And the original MagiPhone version. Next we'll do 1205, which is the Magi King combination. And that same code from the original toy. So next up we have the Fire Kaiser code, which is for when Magi Red combined his Phoenix form with the horse from Woolsard, so it became the combination. That's 2105. And then that same code in the original MagiPhone. And then we have the special movie mecha Saint Kaiser with 1025. And this will be the last code I showed in the original MagiPhone. I just wanted this for a comparison of how much better the sounds are in the new one compared to the original. 20 years of technology development will do that. This is what that same code did on the original. And so many of the codes in this original one were just those generic sounds, and that was fine for the time. It was fine for the time, but it's really nice to have something as advanced as the Memorial Edition in the same size shape as that. And that's the last comparison I want to do. But there's a bunch more sounds in here, a bunch more spell codes, which again, we're going to go through all at the end. But let's talk about some of its special features that are brand new to this Memorial Edition. All right, so if we hold down button 0, we'll get the roll call sound effects and lights. So then, as typical with Memorial Editions, if you hold down the cancel button, you will get 3 songs from the series. And also, just like most Memorial Editions, if you turn the music on, you can still play the sound effects on top of it. So that's everything for the main mode, minus all the spell codes. What we're going to do is switch modes. And to switch modes, you hold down the call button. So we're going from the default mode into the Legend mode, where we'll get sound effects based on the Magiranger's Legend mode power-ups. So in the series, when they're in Magilegend mode, they don't actually use the MagiPhone as much for spells. They mostly use the Dial Rod. And the Dial Rod toy itself was this cool like staff with a lion head and a rotary dial. And so the way they've done this, and kind of telling you that they're not going to make a Memorial Edition Dial Rod, is that they put all the sounds for the Dial Rod in this mode. And the way it works is that you have each button here correlates to the Dial Rod itself. So basically, none of the Ranger color modes matter in this mode. It's just going to be the same. But for example, like we press button 1, we're going to get the Magibolt. And then if you go through it 5 times, you get all 5 versions of the Magibolt. This continues further with number 2 will give us the joint staff attack. Button number 3 will call the Phoenix part of the Magilegend mecha. Number 4 will summon the lion. And number 5 will combine them into Magilegend. And then you press this button again, and then you get the sound for summoning Magilegend's weapon. And then the third press will give you the finisher, the Screw Caliber Fire Tornado. All right, button number 6 will get us different spells, and I'm going to include these when we go through the spell codes because this will kind of correlate to what we're doing over there. And then button 7 is going to give us 4 special sounds that don't appear anywhere else. These aren't related to Legend mode specifically. The first one of these is going to be for when they did the giant like kick attack against one of the big final monsters. The second one will be a spell that was used in order to create a deflection when they were fighting the last monster. And then pressing it a third time will give us the sound for when they did their giant final beam attack. And then the last button press will give you a sound effect from the last shot of the series. Then press button 8 and you'll get a sound from the Magiranger versus Gokaiger crossover. And then you're probably wondering, well, all that, what does button 9 do? The Gokaiger sound? No, this is what 9 does. 9 does nothing, because the Gokaiger sound has a whole separate mode for some reason. So in Gokaiger, when the Gokaigers transformed into the Magirangers during the tribute episode, they unlocked a new spell code, and that new spell code was Magi Magi Go Gokai, and it was activated by pressing 1-7 and cancel. Obviously, with the cancel button always canceling out the keypad, you can't really do that sound effect. I thought they'd just put this as button number 9, but what they opted to do is that you hold down the call button, you'll enter a Gokaiger mode specifically, and that Gokaiger mode will then give you the sound effect when you press enter for just the one spell. That's all it's there for. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure why they decided it needed a whole separate mode for that one code that they used to just have a monster wrap its arms around itself. I felt like it could have just been number 9 in the legend mode, but hey, it's at least in there, which I think is really nice. This is pretty complete, because the Magirangers haven't returned too much to use brand new spell codes, so this is a pretty extensive device, which I gotta say is really awesome. But like I said, there's a ton of spell codes in this, so let's go through them all one at a time. I'll try not to repeat any of them, but they did repeat some of them depending on who used them. But let's go through all the spell codes that were in the MagiPhone in the show and see how they sound in the Memorial Edition. Alright, so we're going to go through every single spell code that was used in the series. Beginning in episode 1, the Magi Mother, she used a spell code called Majuna, which was basically just a light power, and it was just code number 9. That wasn't anything special, that was the same sound from the original MagiPhone. I'm not going to do that for every code, we'd be here for days. Let's get on with the next code, 29. And that was another Magi Mother attack. The next code is number 6, which is for the clothing. Next we have 8-7, which is Magi Green's element attack. And then we're going to have the same code 8-7 for Blue's elemental attack, but you need to be in the blue mode to get the blue specific sound. Then we have Pink's disguise spell, 1-6. We have 8-3, which is used for turning the Magi stick into either the sword, bowgun, or axe for red, yellow, or green. This does not change depending on what ranger color you have. 2-6 for Red's Alchemy. 0-7 Red's Fire Attack. 1-8-6 to turn Magi Fairy into the ball form. 0-3, which is Blue's divination spell. 3, yellow's lightning. 1/9, a teleport spell. 7, blue's water spell. 5/6, yellow's potion spell. 9/9, blue's invincibility. 2/7, green's herbology spell. 2/04, the exorcism spell. 6/7 for sensory enhancement. 8/03 for Magiking's sword attack. 1/2/07 for Magiking's final slash attack. 5/9 for magical curtain. 8/8/3 for the Magi Punch boxing gloves or for the dancing of blue and pink. 7 for green's vines. 2/09 for Magiking's magical shower attack. 0/07 for the red fire screw attack. 0/0/07 for the most powerful version of red fire. 1/2/8/5 for Magiking's magical family slash. 5 for unite. 0/1 for Magi Green's muscle form. 1/2/6 for the magical tower. 206 for reversing dark magic. 407 for kicking a ball. 287 for the smoky blue shining attack. 4-4 for restoring ruined objects. 2004 for saving people consumed by evil spirits. 806 for making the king caliber sharper. 9888 will reverse magic. So in Legend mode, pressing button 6 the first time will get you Magi Gol Magica, which is Blagel's Blazing Storm attack. .003 is an enhanced divination spell. On the 5th button press of button 6 in Legend mode, you will get Magi Golu Gogika, which is Fantastic Splash for Legend mode Magi Blue. The 8th press of button 6 in Legend mode will get you the Rock Armor for Magi Green. The 3rd press on button 6 in Legend mode will get you Magi Yellow's Dial Rod Bowgun mode. 9-2 is a spell to distort the target's balance. The second time you press button 6 in Legend mode will get you Majin Luluda, which is the time reverse. The 6th press of button 6 in Legend mode will get you the Water Drill check for Magi Blue Legend. The 4th press of button 6 in Legend mode will get you the spell that brought back Magi Mother. Now this was actually used as a MagiPhone, but it's in the Legend codes, I think, because it's different, and they didn't show the code in the show. We have 09, which destroys a target completely. 8-4, which is Magi Mother's Ice Arrow attack. The 7th press of button 6 in Legend mode will get you the spell that allowed Magi Pink to phase someone through solid matter. 104 is a spell for separating the soul from the body. When Magiello appeared in a ninja, you used spell 4-4 to fix the Ichiban. When the Zenkaigers used the Magiranger gear, it gave them the ability to use the MagiPhone, and they used code 1207 to overwrite a stronger spell. So there's two more codes which are in the instruction manual for the Memorial MagiPhone that don't have any seeming reference. I've checked through things. Psycho-O's definitely checked through things trying to figure out where these codes were from, but they are 777 and 40. So let's just play the sounds. And that is all of the spell codes in the Memorial MagiPhone, which is basically all the spell codes from the existence of Magiranger throughout the history of Super Sentai. So the Memorial Edition MagiPhone is downright perfect. I mean, I really have no complaints with it. There's some of the spell codes that may have been a little generic. I noticed that the codes that the Silver MagiPhone used, or Magimother used, and you know, she only had this towards the end of the series, but the spell codes that Magimother used didn't seem to have, like, fancy sounds for them, even though they're in-show used codes. So maybe there is a Memorial Silver MagiPhone in our future, which would honestly be really cool. I'd totally be cool with it, to buy that, and then it, you know, it has different music tracks, those specific spell codes, maybe a little emblem chip that you could put into either device. That could be pretty sweet, Bandai. I don't know if they're going to go as far as to make the Uzophone, mostly because it's not actually a changer, right? It didn't actually get used much as a changer by Woolzard. That being said, if they were going to do the Uzophone, I'd like the Fire version that we never got for Woolzard Fire. This in all red instead of purple, I'd be into that. So, we'll see. For me, I have all the Magiranger changers. I really love the MagiPhone. I think it's a really brilliant design to go from like the cell phone changer style to the magic wand, the spell codes being codes. So it's like really kind of a neat sound palette, and I think this just upgrades every single aspect of the original toy and makes an overall better version. And that does it for my MagiPhone Memorial Edition review. Thank you again to Psycho-O's for providing all the research and notes for all these codes. We went over it together, but he did the bulk of it, which made this whole easy because I was so busy doing One Piece research, I did not have the time to work on the spell codes for this. So thank you to him. This video got out a lot quicker. Also, if you enjoyed this, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and the notification bell. If you did, those two things help the channel immensely. Really do appreciate it. Leave any comments, questions, concerns down below. If we screwed something up, it inevitably probably has happened, let us know down below. Also, if you'd like to continue the conversation, you can join our Discord server, link below. You can also join as a channel member and get perks like early access to videos. Let's give some special shout-outs to some of our channel members. Special shout-out to all of our channel members, including these Captain Tier members, Kyle A, 00711, Mojazz, Infinite 1985, Light Yagami, Tim Jekyll, Actual Lee, Super Robozilla Go, Movie Stash, Justice Outlaw 8468, Matthew Nichols, BAL, Guapo-san, The One Joe, and Gangshi. Thank you all for your support of this channel, viewers and channel members alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media on Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12. You can find my wonderful graphic designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643. And you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for tokusatsu interviews and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying, Magi Magi Majiro!